We turn to Walter Kern, very smart guy, journalist, comes on the show. Yeah. And he, this morning, tweeted out something that's since gone everywhere. And he wrote the following: "Can I blow the whole UFO thing wide open for you? You won't believe me anyway. It's only a matter of time until you hear things that will rock your world, if your world is rockable. You will have a hard time verifying them, but that's true of everything you hear. It's true of unemployment statistics. They will be very specific things, however, and so far out, so beyond your expectations, they will ring your bell, and you'll hear them from people you were not ready to hear such things from. The shells are all in the cannon. It's all about who gets to shoot it and who wins and who loses when it goes off. There's money involved. Lots. Hear me now, believe me later, as they say."
Turn of Dronapalooza.
Yeah.
Recall from last year, drones everywhere over key installations. They shut down Langley Air Force Base. They shut down Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. They were seen for several weeks by hundreds of thousands of people over New Jersey, over a nuclear plant, over sensitive military installations. They were out here in the Southwest over Plant 42. And the same thing happened in almost all these cases. They'd come in out of nowhere, undetected. They'd loiter around, making themselves obvious. The lights are on. Nobody knew where they're from. They would leave and could not be tracked. None of them were shot down. We don't know who was behind them or what was going on. And now the same thing has been happening almost a year later across Europe. You know, you'll recall there were a couple of UK military bases, joint bases, that were overflown by these drones. I think we were told by our friend Chris Sharp that there were attempts to bring them down with the best anti-drone technology. Poof, did nothing. Now they've been making a nuisance of themselves over several European countries, and you have to wonder who's behind it, what's going on, where these things are from. We have exactly the right guy to answer those questions, right?
Yeah, our man in the UK, as you said, Chris Sharp, he's always been on this kind of stuff. I am excited. He has Liberation Times. He's got some great articles. He's really been dogged about the UAP thing, but also about the national security implications of what we're calling, drones at this time. So he just knows far more than I do about this, and he's always come on this show and given us great information. I love his articles. Everybody should go check out Liberation Times. But yeah, Chris Sharp, let's bring him on. Looking sharp, Chris Sharp. What's going on, man?
So I took George's advice from last week, and I thought we were all going to be in suits. I thought we were coordinating this, but obviously someone didn't get the memo. Hey, George.
Look how good that guy looks, Jeremy. Why can you not do that? Chris,
he's great, man. He's handsome, man. I could never live up to it. Looking great, Chris.
Chris, it's great to see you. We've been following your reporting. As always, excellent work. Yeah. The thing that's different this time is you were kind of the Lone Ranger reporting on this before, and in the last couple of months, we've seen a lot of media interest across Western Europe. Other news organizations who've covered this as well. Must be nice to have some company this time, huh?
Yes, it's extraordinary to see how many headlines these incidents have actually generated, and to see all the open source intelligence X accounts covering it as well. So
the department says these mystery drones evade detection because they don't give off heat like regular drones.
Why do you think that is? We don't know. It's just something that we haven't, it's not something that we've had our hands on. It's not something that we've experienced.
Something they hadn't experienced until now.
You don't think this is our technology?
No, I do not. There's no way it is no way it's our technology. There's, I've talked to too many pilots. Why would we risk our best? I mean, I've talked to the best pilots in the world that are ours. Some of them, not all of them, and that have told me. I mean, one guy, I remember I was at the Capitol Hill Club. It was just an unusual encounter. A guy spoke to a group, and he followed me out and said, Tim, or Congressman or whatever, he said that thing was 14 feet. He went like this from my canopy. And I thought to myself, why didn't he say 15? Why didn't he say 20? But he said 14. And then he said this thing, it wasn't ours. He said, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't ours. And that's all he said. And I had a very high-ranking member of the Navy describe some underwater experiences they'd had with something that was doing 200 miles. And the best thing we got is probably 40
was doing 200 miles an hour underwater.
Underwater, big as a football field, and that's no fish.
So is it possible, given our current understanding of physics, for any man-made machine to go anywhere near 200 miles an hour underwater?
Not with our technology, no. The best we have is probably in the high 30s.
All right, so you're here today. You were just inside. You walked out. Why?
I walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything. Okay, it was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it. But they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there. I drove 2 hours to be here today. Spent an hour in there. I got to drive 2 hours back. The biggest waste of 5 hours in my entire life.
So why do you think they called this meeting?
No idea. Why would you call a meeting to tell people you don't know anything? I have no idea. And then when the legislators would ask questions, there were no answers. Here's the most frustrating part. The colonel of the state police said that he had a helicopter of his flying over above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. And he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. Where'd it go? Who knows? Didn't want to follow it because you didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? I mean, honestly.
Do they have any idea where these drones are originating?
No, they don't. They would. Maybe if they followed that sucker to when it landed, they would know. But they don't. This is a complete lack of effort, in my opinion, on trying to figure this out. This is not about ability. We have the technology. We have the people. We have the training. We have the resources. We have the money. It's just a lack of effort. I mean,
why?
I don't know. They should be saying, you know what they should have done today with productive use of our time if they didn't know anything? Come in there and say, hey, legislators, we don't know anything. But if you get us these 10 things, do these 10 things for us, and the governor calls in this kind of action, we can figure it out. Will you help us? And then we would have helped them. But instead it was just excuse after excuse and we know nothing. It was infuriating, and I got up and I walked out.
You've been in the service, right?
Yeah, I was an attack helicopter pilot, Apache helicopter pilot in the Army, and I helped stand up the initial unmanned aircraft training battalion in the aviation sector of the Army. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, and these guys are not doing the job they need to do to figure out what's going on, and that is the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the state police.
And they're saying no threat to Americans.
They're saying no threat, but how the hell do they know? They don't know anything. They don't know what it is. They don't know where it come from. They don't know nothing. When I walked in here today, I was actually pretty calm. I was excited to be here to find out a couple things. I thought they'd be like, hey, listen, it's FedEx, trying to figure it out. But instead, I got the most ridiculous amateur hour briefing I've ever sat through.
Wow, that's truly upsetting.
Well, I come to it. I don't think would be a greater skeptic than myself when until this era that we're talking about of disclosure. When you look at antiquity, you would think we had some pretty empirical historians from all 2,500 years ago. So you look all through those periods, and while they do mention certain things that are a little strange, they find a corpse that's bigger than normal, or they see a comet that they think is a little you don't get any description of anybody who says there was people from a different planet. And then in addition to that, you have to approach it from the religious. I used to teach the New Testament in Greek, and you get the idea that the whole religious experience in Christianity, but also in other religions, is based on the uniqueness of life here as we know it. And then you kind of see all these characters when growing up in the 50s and 60s with all these UFO stuff, and you kind of get on the ledger where you think, well, this is not possible. But then the more and more you see these films now, and we have much greater precision in cameras, in radar, sonar, and you start to see things that maybe we didn't. You become. I'm now kind of 50-50. I'm just waiting to see something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The elephant in the room is, if all of this is true, which I think the evidence is starting to make us skeptics re-examine our beliefs, you would think that the average person then is going to see them much more frequently than.
That's exactly what I said to my team. Yeah, before we started this segment, I made the same point. Like, why aren't skeptics seeing the UAPs? Yes. Why aren't we all running into them? There was the weird drone thing over New Jersey. Yes. We never got to the bottom of that. We have had pilots in the air, with videotape show us very bizarre
Yeah.
objects that go faster than any aircraft that we know of on Earth could go. You know, these are legit fighter pilots who are not nuts, and there are quite a few of them talking about what they've encountered. And it might make sense that if you were from another planet, you'd start with our military, surveilling it, seeing what it's capable of.